Are you thinking about opening a brokerage account, or you just open one and you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes when it comes to your brokerage account? Well, this video is for you. Welcome to the Wealth Twins Show, and let's jump right into it. Nicole, what is a common mistake people make when it comes to brokerage accounts?
I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes, the most common mistake that people make is really ignoring the fees and the
Mm,
hidden cost that comes with a brokerage account.
that's
Like
true.
for instance, a lot of brokerage accounts like Charles Schwab or Vanguard, Fidelity, their fees are pretty low. A lot of times you won't pay a lot for like trading fees or anything like that. But you have some brokerage companies, what I like to call legacy providers, that are more advisor driven, that actually tend to charge you higher fees when it comes to buying funds or buying just anything, the investments that they have, because they're more financial advisor driven. So they're more like investment advisors. So any type of house such as Edward Jones or Raymond James, things like that, you're going to be charged higher fees and a lot of hidden costs that you may not be aware of.
I would agree. And when you look at those, like, I wouldn't call them necessarily smaller. It's just that Charles Schwab, Fidelity, they're more discount brokers. So they give you less fees when it comes to like handling your accounts and stuff. Those older ones, like Edward Jones or things like that, they have specific things that you can invest in that are higher price. Even if you want to, like, say, reinvest your dividends, you're going to get charged a fee with that. So if you're looking at that, you say, "Oh, I'm this is something that I got pushed into because maybe you had a parent who had opened that up for you, or you just opened that years ago and you're scared to leave." You got to understand, you're paying a ton of fees, and you're probably not using all the services that those fees are covering. So there's
Mm-hmm.
discount brokerage firms that you could use now that are just as big and provide great customer service, and you no longer have to pay those type of fees. So I agree. That's a mistake that
So,
people.
so why are we talking about fees? Why they're important? That's because even the smallest amount of fees can really affect the portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a fee of 1% can change what could be a seven-figure investment portfolio and turn into a six-figure. So that's why we're talking about fees. Small fees sink big ships, if you like to think about that. And
I
and
agree.
back when maybe you opened up a account, or even your parents opened up an account and like Edward Jones or Raymond James, it was pretty common for all brokerage accounts, brokerages, to have fees. But that's just not the case anymore.
Yep.
It is getting more accessible to invest, and specifically on your own, that you really have a choice now and you don't need to go to these legacy brokers slash investment advisors anymore. So you have to really research what your options are and make sure that you're not allowing fees to take a bite out of your investment portfolio returns. So with that, how to avoid it? Look more for brokerages that don't have high fees. And we've given three examples, or at least two of them definitely would be Charles Schwab and also Fidelity. So look at those in terms of these are the places I could put my money in and don't have to really worry about fees really eating into my investment accounts. There are some products that they have that could be higher fees than most, but on average, they're pretty low cost brokerage houses.
So if I'm thinking about mistakes, I would think another mistake when it comes to choosing a brokerage account is not choosing the right one for you. I know there's a lot of brokerages out there that seem like they're very convenient to do. For example, like you might open up a Robinhood account, or you might open up an Acorn account or something like that because a younger person in your family may have told you about it. But you have to understand, if you're not a person who deals with apps all the time and like to chat with people or get your customer service that way, maybe that is not the right type of brokerage firm that you should be dealing with. Maybe you might want to go to a more traditional or full service brokerage because you need different services. Maybe you want to talk to someone on the phone. Maybe you want to be able to make trades from your desktop, your phone, or go into a brick and mortar location also. So you have to look at if you're picking the right brokerage account for you. There might be tools also that you may need as you're going through your journey to start investing, that you might find out that these smaller brokerages are the ones or who deal with trading more often than a longer term investment platform. Maybe you see like those research tools that they have, they might charge you for that. And there's other ones that don't charge you for that. So when you're looking at a brokerage company, just don't go by that something that's popular. Look at what tools you would need. Look at how user friendly it is for you, not for someone who may be more used to different types of tools than you are, and see if it's right for you before you start opening accounts there and think you're going to trade.
I think an easy way to avoid this common mistake is to understand two things. One, who is that brokerage account's target demographic slash
Yeah.
target customer?
Mm-hmm.
Then two, what is that brokerage account's, let's say, unique value proposition? What do they specialize in? What are they going to be known for? What makes them different from another company? If you look at those two things, and you'll realize, okay, this one is different from that one, and this one is more aligned with my values than say that one. If I want live customer service and I want more hand holding, I'm not going to go to Robinhood, right? I'm not their target demographic. I'm not 20 something year old. I'm not a male, right? This is just my opinion of who their target demographic is. And they're doing more so on trading and doing quick action things. Where as a long-term investor and someone who appreciates live customer service and more handholding, I'm more of a Charles Schwab Fidelity type of customer profile. So if you look at that, look at the target customer who they're really trying to market to, and also what their unique value proposition is. It will help you avoid that mistake.
You should definitely take note of this when it comes to when you're thinking about rolling over a 401k or something into an IRA, right? Some of these smaller firms or some of these ones that just have an app, they don't even allow you to have an IRA there, right? So it's just be aware of what you're opening, why you want to open it, and who you're opening it with. So, Nicole, what's another mistake you think people make when it comes to brokerage accounts?
Well, a lot of the students, they don't even realize they've done this because they say, yeah, I have a brokerage account. But a lot of them have not, they put the money in the account, and some may not even put money into the account. So they just open up a brokerage account and they
Yep.
think magic is going to happen. If you open up a brokerage account, the second thing you need to do is fund it, put money into the account. The third thing you need to do is actually invest it. If not, it will just sit in a cash account or a sweep account and get paid very little interest. So it's basically the same as putting it in savings account. Okay, so you have to be able, when you open up a brokerage account, don't forget the two steps of funding it and then also investing it.
I think a lot of people miss out on this also when they open up an IRA. Like you might be rolling your money into an IRA, but you're not actually investing it in anything and just sitting it generally in a money market fund, right? So you're losing out on tons of growth on things that you can start building your wealth and missing out on this time simply because you say, oh, I'm fine. I rolled it over. I don't have to do anything else. There are extra steps. So opening it, putting money in, and then investing that money. You have to take that last step. And you wouldn't believe how many people actually forget that last step. You did a good job by opening a brokerage account, but you didn't take the next step and actually invest the money that you have in that brokerage account into something, or you haven't even put money into the account. And I guess an easy way to solve this problem would be start automatically funding your brokerage accounts. You don't have to necessarily pick something you want to invest in right away, but at least make sure that you have money in that account so then when you do your research and you decide what you want to buy, you make sure you have that money available for you, right? And then you don't have to waste time with the money having to be moved into that account. You already have a pot of funds in that account that you can go ahead and start making a trade with or buying an investment with the money that's currently sitting in that account.
I would say another thing that can help you just even get over this if you've already have made this mistake is to, and you've heard me say it in a couple of previous videos, and if you haven't checked out our other episodes, please do, would
Mm-hmm.
be to give yourself grace.
Yeah,
Most of us did not learn how to invest either at home or in school.
I
All
agree.
right. So you don't know what you don't know. Two, maybe you didn't feel comfortable and no one's willing to tell you exactly what to do. They might give you one step out of 20. It's not your fault.
Mm.
It's taboo when it comes to talking about money, when it talks about investing, especially with retirement accounts that you're able to do through your job. People might tell you, hey, open up this account. Even your employers might tell you, open up this account, it'll be beneficial for you. But they don't tell you what to do next. So don't feel like you did something that's so horrible and that you're so silly. Do not. It's give yourself grace, and now that you know that this is what you should be doing, then you can avoid that mistake by just changing tomorrow. Okay. You can't change the past, but you can do something today that can help you change the future. So I want to make sure that we know that. Okay.
I would agree with that. If I'm thinking about another mistake, it would be, I would say, not updating the beneficiaries on your brokerage accounts. And this can be
Mm.
for any account, right? It could be for custodial accounts, it could be for your 401ks, your IRAs, the regular taxable brokerage accounts. This is a big problem because, say, you have beneficiaries on there, like maybe you were married before, and when you first started your job or you first opened your account, and then you got a divorce, and maybe you remarried, right? You never changed your beneficiaries. So maybe your first spouse is going to have all that money go to them if something is to happen to you. Or let's say you had a child, you open a brokerage account, but then you had a brokerage account or an investment account, and you put your child as a beneficiary. What if you had other children after that? Wouldn't you want your children to be your all your children to be able to be beneficiaries on your account? Okay? There's been a lot of money that has gone to people who they did not want that money to go to, simply because of paperwork that you did not change the name of the beneficiary on your account. I had to do the same thing. Before I was married, Nicole was the beneficiary on all my accounts. Now I'm
Wait a minute, I'm
married, I
not the
have a
beneficiary
family.
anymore?
No, you're not. I have I have a family now. My family is my beneficiaries. Nicole might be a beneficiary of some down the line stuff, but I had to go through the exercise of changing the beneficiaries, and I think everyone should take that on and make sure that it's going to the person you intended to go to.
Yeah, not even just that. If you don't have a beneficiary and something happens to you,
Hmm.
what happens to that account? It goes into one of these, what is it called? The abandoned money where you got to go
It,
get it from the state
it
or
gets
so
sent
like
to the
that.
government. Even
Yeah,
when it
it
comes
gets
to
it be,
savings accounts and checking accounts, make sure you have a beneficiary on those too.
it makes it difficult for people who you would have wanted that money to go to actually get it after your passing. So that is something you can definitely avoid. And then just forgotten accounts. That is another problem. When you not only forget to put your beneficiary down, but if you forgot that you actually had that account in the first place. It happens. You might open up something 20 years before, totally forgot. But then when you actually start focusing on brokerage accounts again, then you might realize you have some found money. So that's something to be aware of. Just make sure you constantly update the information and
I
check
agree.
what you have in your accounts.
Yeah,
I
it's just a
think
financial
another,
checkup. It's part of a
yeah,
financial checkup.
and it's very easily to get, forget about it because life just happens. But if you put it on your calendar and say, let me just make sure that the beneficiaries are the ones that I want,
Hmm.
and that if something changed, I change it. It's something you can make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Something that you don't want happen to you in the future happens.
Yep.
So I say another common mistake when it comes to brokerage accounts, even if you have one, this is actually if you have a brokerage account, is actually buying securities that are not transferable. So what do I mean by that? If, say, you see this video and you realize you're not in the right brokerage account for you and you want to move it over, and say for example is Robinhood, and you have fractional shares inside Robinhood. So these are percentages of stock that you can buy, and also ETFs. We can get into that. Those terms that I just mentioned, fractional shares, ETFs, if those are unfamiliar, I'm going to put a resource in the description box that talks about the 25 must know investment terms that you should know. All right, so you can download that. That's free, and it'll help you understand some of the terms that we're using if they're unfamiliar to you. Now, when I say something like a fractional share or ETFs that you buy at Robinhood, these fractional ETFs that you buy in Robinhood, and then you say, you know what, I want to switch to like Fidelity or Charles Schwab or so. Did you know that you're not able to just transfer those securities over to that other brokerage? You actually have to sell those investments and then move the money over to another brokerage. Same thing happens with Fidelity. They're zero funds. These can be considered great funds. A lot of people love them, right? Because there's zero fees associated with these index funds, but they're called not portable. Other words, they're not transferable. You cannot take these funds that you have in Fidelity, and if you choose to no longer have a Fidelity brokerage account and go to another brokerage, those funds cannot go with you. You have to sell those funds before leaving Fidelity.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And I'm thinking it just jogged something in my mind too. What another mistake would be is, say you have a brokerage account and then there's a security that another broker provides, like say a mutual fund like Vanguard, right? But you have a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity account and you say, oh, I really want to buy this particular Vanguard mutual fund. Buying that on a different platform other than Vanguard's platform is going to cost you so much more in fees. So that's just another thing. Like, look at what you're buying. Okay. If you want to buy a Vanguard fund, you can do that through Fidelity and Charles Schwab, but you're going to pay for that, right? Or you can simply open up a Vanguard account and buy that Vanguard fund there. I think the same thing goes back and forth. Like, same thing. You want to buy a Charles Schwab mutual fund, try to do it on Fidelity, they're going to charge you an amount. Avoid those fees. Buy it on that particular platform if it's something you really want in your portfolio. That's just something I'm throwing out there, right?
I like how you brought it back home with fees because that was actually number 5. So
Okay.
with that, I'm going to summarize all 5 mistakes that we put in this video in terms of mistakes that people make when it comes to brokerage account.
Oh,
And
wait,
Nadia, if I
Nicole,
forget
I
one,
got one more for you. One
what
of
is
the
that?
biggest
Is
mistakes
a
when it comes
bonus?
to, well, bonus one, yep. One of the mistakes that it comes to a brokerage account is not having one at all, okay?
Hello.
You're sitting here relying only on your retirement accounts, but your retirement accounts have a limited amount of items that you can actually invest in. If you are looking to build wealth and you're doing it for the long term, you should have a brokerage account. So if this video is your sign to get off the fence and actually get a brokerage account, especially if you've been thinking about it for a while, take this as your sign to open up a brokerage account because it gives you more of an ability to invest in different securities, and it gives you a little more flexibility because you don't have to worry about being penalized because you took it out before 59 and a half. You're going to pay taxes on it, but if you hold it over a year, it's going to be at like probably 20%. So open up a brokerage account if you're looking to build wealth.
I say yes, that is true. And if you are afraid to start investing on your own, and especially in a brokerage account, this is what Nadia and I specialize in.
Yep.
We teach students all the time exactly how to do it, and we teach them in a way that they know exactly what they're buying and why they're buying it, and they feel confident in doing it. So if that's something you're interested, join our mailing list, which I will also put in the description, and ask us the question and let us know, hey, I would be interested in learning how to invest on my own. Can you help me? And we will reply to you. It'll either be me or Nadia, and we will reply to you, and we can
Yep.
get you started on your journey. And we will love to help you. So again, like I said, now let's give you the summary of the common mistakes that we say people make when it comes to our brokerage accounts. 1 is ignoring high fees and hidden costs. 2, not updating your beneficiary information. 3, not picking the right brokerage for your needs or for your wants, right? Not figuring out who their target market is and who they're really trying to market to and what their value proposition is. Another
Mm-hmm.
one is not understanding what securities that you're buying because they might not be transferable. And as the bonus, like Nadia said, not having one at all. Okay?
I think we gave more than 5, but it's always good to get more. So if you guys like this video, make sure you give a like to the channel and subscribe and hit that notification bell. We make these videos every week, and we look forward to hearing your comments. And make sure you join the Wealth Pack if you haven't. It's our free newsletter where we give more information than we can in these videos on YouTube, and we'll love to have you as part of the Wealth Pack. You can find the link in the description in order to join, and it's free. See you guys in the next video.